Hi everyone, this is Dr. Ann, and thanks so much for tuning in to the Fit Foodie Pharmacist Show, the place to be for real talk with real experts and real results so that you can heal yourself naturally. Now, if you haven't done so already, come check us out at drann.com, spelled A-N-H as in healthy, because there you can get my free gift, the Clean Eating Rules. It's my #1 guide for how to eat to lose weight, to improve your blood work, and to get more energy, and you can get it for free at drann.com. Now today we are talking with Martha Gesegnet-Blessing, and much like myself, she began her medical career as a nurse in traditional Western medicine, but quickly decided it wasn't for her, so she left it for a more holistic approach and became a third-generation metaphysical and spiritual healer. Now, she has over 20 years of experience in holistic health and is the founder of the Niagara Ayurveda Wellness and Healing Center. She also holds a certification in Ayurvedic medicine, energy medicine, and holistic nutrition, as well as a doctorate of divinity degree. She interestingly successfully reversed 13 years of chronic pain in her own life, and she's the author of the book 8 Steps to Naturally Heal Chronic Pain. In today's episode, we talk about what is Ayurvedic medicine and its benefits, the 3 body types in Ayurveda and how you know what your body type is, how to eat for your body type, as well as how to detox and how often someone should be detoxing, and much, much more. So let's go chat with Martha. Of the book 8 Steps to Naturally Healing Chronic Pain. Welcome, Martha, to the show.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm glad to have you. I hear you've been really busy with your practice, so I appreciate you spending some time with us.
Sure. Thanks. No problem.
So let's just jump right in. How did you go into Ayurvedic medicine when you started out in a more traditional Western role as a nurse?
Well, it has been a journey and a path that has been very interesting and enlightening. I started in Western medicine, and when I started having health challenges and problems in my own life, I got interested in looking for alternatives because I lived with chronic pain. And so it was a process of starting taking yoga, and then when I was at a yoga center, I decided I wanted to move into holistic health and educating. I just knew on some level that being a nurse, taking all of these drugs, the side effects, they had me on so many pain medications and anti-inflammatories, and I thought, gosh, I'm young, I'm only 28 years old, I won't have a kidney or a liver or a stomach or all of these things that would be damaging. And so I really think it was just that little still small voice within that said look into other areas, and that led me to yoga, which ultimately led me to energy healing and then on to Ayurvedic medicine.
I see. So what do you think is the biggest benefit that Ayurvedic medicine has to offer people today?
In my practice, we have a wellness center here, and I've also helped clients all over the world, thanks to the internet and things like what we're doing today. And it's so rewarding to me to be able to offer something that I have not found any other system to have, and that's getting to the root cause of an illness. Even in some of the holistic modalities, they're still offering an herb or a homeopathic that doesn't seem to correct the imbalance. And so what I see, clients come to me so many times, and it's a question of knowing their body type and looking at what's specific to them, what's specific to where they live. So in Ayurveda, we might have, there's 3 body types, the Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. And a lot of times people get focused on just this one, I'm this. We like to label, just like we need a diagnosis in Western medicine. I've got this. And it's something people can tangibly grasp onto. But Ayurveda looks at where all of these things, vata, pitta, kapha, those are the elements, words for the elements in nature, water, earth, fire, and how do they show up in the body? And where did they go out of balance? Here's my baseline. Here's my nature. And then how has this imbalance created these symptoms that I'm experiencing? Rather than someone treating insomnia or high blood pressure, which of these vata, pitta, kapha has gone out of balance? How do we correct that? So if we have a person that's a, say, vata, pitta type, I could take 5 vata, pittas and line them up in front of me. And each one, even if they had arthritis or they had high blood pressure, might get treated differently because of where they live. Do they live in Florida? Do they live in California? Do they live in New York? Is it cold? Is it dry? Is it wet? And what are the seasons like? And then what is their nature? What kind of job do they have? Are they stressed?
Mm-hmm.
How much exercise do they get? So it's an individual approach to each person and really getting to that underlying cause. Maybe it's emotional. Maybe they're contracting. I tell people, I look at the energetic. If they're contracting when they're eating, then their digestion is not good. Are there toxins building up that's going into the tissues that's causing the arthritis, the joints to be achy and sore? So it's really a very truly holistic approach. And I've seen clients go to other holistic practitioners and not get relief, not see relief. So that's, to me, just the biggest benefit that people receive is being able to integrate those principles.
Well, yeah, and I think even in Western medicine today, there is a bigger push towards individualizing medicine and treatment because every person they do react differently to medications. Just a simple example, I take allergy medicine and Claritin works fine for me, but, it doesn't work for my mom and she needs something like a Zyrtec or an Allegra. So every person's body responds differently to different treatments. So
Sure.
now, a question on the body types then. How do you know what body type you are?
There's a couple of ways to determine that. And a lot of people getting started, that's the first thing that obviously is important. When clients come to me, we do it through the pulse. We diagnose through the pulse. And it's really quite spectacular when we come to see what we can learn and read through the pulse. We look at 7 layers in the pulse, and it tells us all about the organs, the conditions of the vata and pitta and kapha in our bodies. But people also can look online, even at my website, if they go, there's a body type quiz. The thing that's the most important when people go to take a quiz, a lot of the quizzes that you can find online, I was very specific with the one that we put up on the website because you have a baseline. It's your prakriti, as it's called in Sanskrit. It's what you're born with. It's your tendencies in your body type that you're born with. And that's your baseline. And then as you go through life, life happens. And if there's an imbalance, that will show up in the Vikriti. So you have to take the test twice. Here's my baseline. Here's where I should be, or here's what I was born with. And then where did I go off balance? So a lot of times people will go on and they'll take it, but they'll answer the questions in a kind of a mix. They're not sure. And so they sometimes end up really diagnosing their imbalance rather than their baseline, their prakriti, their dosha, and their body type. So, but the most succinct and most right on finding out the imbalance is really to work with a practitioner that's been trained and skilled to read the pulse.
Makes sense. Now, I think we should backtrack real quick. I don't think we really define what Ayurvedic medicine is.
Ah, good one. You know, that evolves for me. So I will probably give an answer in what Ayurvedic medicine is to me. And that is really, it started as the very first system of medicine and healing in the world 5,000 years ago. quite spectacularly and quite in divine order. The information of Ayurveda was channeled through holy men and rishis and sages. And to me, it just continues to amaze me how that it has just stood the test of time over thousands of years to have benefits in living and creating health in the 21st century today, in the modern world and modern medicine. How I practice Ayurvedic medicine, and a lot of it is a combination of all of my skills and training, and it's just sort of gelled and meshed into a system that I use. There's a very real practical purpose that we're living in this physical body, and I mean, we're kindred souls of the foodies and living healthy, and that fit foodie pharmacist is amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah. And so we need to fuel ourselves. I mean, I look at healing and medicine on a physical basis. We're in physical bodies, there's a very real practical application to giving ourselves the raw materials. And this is what Ayurveda says, everything starts in the digestion. Because we are what we digest, what we assimilate, and the raw materials that we put in. And so the purity and the wholesomeness of what we're feeding our bodies so that it can make cells from all of that out of the digestive tract. But there's also an esoteric science to Ayurveda. It's the sister science of yoga. And so we look at the chakras and the energy centers and the healing. One of the things that we do in Ayurveda at our center is we do the panchakarma and the detoxing and the cleansing. And part of that, we do a treatment called Shirodhara, where warm oil streams onto the third eye, onto the forehead. Well, how does that benefit digestion? How does that benefit the physical body? Yes, it's relaxing. But if we have 100 circuits to run our body, and in our culture now, everything seems to be overstimulated. Everyone's running and the energy is up in the mind and in the head and busy, busy, busy. We're thinking. If 75 of those circuits are up above, then there's not as much energy to run the digestive and all of the organs and things below. So Ayurveda has these other esoteric things, the meditation, the breath work, the yoga, the body treatments to help manage the energy system. So it really is an all-encompassing physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, and I look at it as creating and maintaining that divine flow in and out of the cells, in and out of the mind, running the prana and the chi and the energy, and then the food piece of it, getting the best food we can to nourish ourselves. So it really is the system that I've seen that is so complete.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it sounds like it. So you touched on the topic of nutrition and digestion, which is my favorite topic.
Mine too.
Let's talk about nutrition. How have you found that proper nutrition has helped to reverse illness?
Well, it's very interesting to be able to look at geographic areas to it's always amazing to me how clients sometimes come in and don't connect nutrition with what might be going on in their bodies.
Yeah.
And then boiling it down into the Ayurvedic piece. So I'll give you an example. Clients come to me with arthritis. A Vata type arthritis, Vata types have a tendency to be cold and dry. They lean towards constipation. And so when we're dry, we're not processing things effectively, and there's residuals and there's wastes that don't leave the body from the digestive tract. They accumulate as toxins. When a Vata type adds, like in the winter now here in western New York, we just got close to a new foot of fresh snow. So the cold and the dry in the winter, it's important to eat foods that counter that. So there's a lot of tendencies to the raw, to the vegan, to the vegetarian. And that's not always what's indicated for good nutrition in Ayurveda, depending on your body type and depending where you live. A lot of cold raw greens at this time in Western New York for a Vata type, that is too hard on the digestion. They have a tendency to weak digestion. So they need to eat things that are warming, that are oily, keeping lubrication. When there's dryness in the body, we end up with a lack of synovial fluid, with a lack of lubrication in the joints. That's why for some people, they'll take glucosamine and chondroitin and say, oh, it helped my arthritis, I feel great. Those are usually the Vata types. It provides a lubrication in the joints.
That makes sense because we tell patients, you can try glucosamine if you're having joint problems, but it works for some people and it doesn't work for others, and you just got to try it for a month to know.
Yeah. Yeah, so it tends to work for the Vata types. The Pitta types, their characteristics, Pitta is our summer season. It's characterized by heat, by sharpness, by oiliness, and it's the elements of water and fire. And their arthritis tends to be where they come in and their joints feel hot, can feel the heat over the affected areas, and there's more of a tightness and a swelling. And so to create heat for them is going to cause more problems. They do well with turmeric because it's bitter and astringent and cooling. They do good to cleanse the liver and get the heat out of the liver and get the heat out of the body. And then again, we'll take into account where are they living? What is the, obviously someone who lives in Florida or California, the climate is completely different than if they're in Western New York. So we would treat nutritionally in a lot of spices. Obviously, Indian food is rich with spices. We use a lot of spices, healing the digestive tract. Ginger for vatas and kaphas to be stimulating and get things moving. But ginger for a pitta type is adding more heat to the body.
Yeah.
More acid, the tomato sauces and things like that, the burning. So we're looking at cooling and doing things that are appropriate. I think probably the biggest mistake that I see are people who don't rotate their foods. Eating the same thing season to season to season and thinking that being vegetarian is the best. No, we didn't start becoming meat eaters in our cultures and society. We started out living in the tropics. It wasn't until we migrated to the north, when they couldn't get food from the land, they would do a hunt. And they would hunt and they would eat protein. And they didn't know when they were going to get, and they would subsidize that with whatever was from the land. They would have some grains. They might have a root cellar, and they've got all the root vegetables, onions, potatoes, things like that, what they could save and store. So the meat is warming and it's heating. And Vata types might find that they'll eat some animal proteins, some fish or some chicken or beef or eggs, clean, make it organic, make it local as best as you can. And then lay off those things when the spring comes. And then we shift to more of what's going on locally for you. What would you find at the farmer's market in April and May? Sprouts, radishes, greens, all of the things that are coming from the land in your area. Berries, things like that. So really rotating seasonally, I think, is a key that a lot of people miss. And so what do we do? At least in Western New York, everybody fires up the grill in the summertime. That's adding more heat when we're adding the animal proteins, and then we're charring it on the grill, looking at the energetic principles of food. And that really makes a difference.
So, for example, are you saying a pitta type who tends to be more fiery, if they have meat or spicy foods in the summer, that it's going to worsen any health challenges that they have?
Exactly. Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So, can you give me like an example of some of the patients that you've healed, or even yourself, using these principles of nutrition?
Absolutely. I will say, I'll start with myself. that's one of the reasons I'm passionate about Ayurveda, is that with Ayurvedic and energy healing, and looking at nutrition, I reversed 13 years of chronic pain. They tried to diagnose me with fibromyalgia, and I just said, no, thank you. You can keep that. I really believe you name it, you claim it.
Well, and
There's
plus
this,
with fibromyalgia, it's like a syndrome of symptoms. We don't really know what causes it, and so if we don't understand where the pain comes from, I think we just call it fibromyalgia.
yeah, I honestly believe that enough enough people went to a doctor complaining of vague symptoms. And I have a whole other philosophy on some of that would be a whole other interview
So,
and time and recording. But um, it's really this, what I call like a garbage can diagnosis. Same thing with like irritable bowel. Enough people go to the doctor complaining of things, and Western medicine they will find something, and I really believe it's financially driven for the medical community.
it
Um,
absolutely is. It's not pay for performance, It's you charge people based on the different tests that you can justify for them. So
yeah, it's a pill and a bill is
mhm,
what I call.
exactly. Okay.
So just looking at that whole fibromyalgia, I said, no, thank you. I really believe you name it, you claim it. Then you start to own it. Oh, I've got something tangible to hang on to, versus a client coming to me, and what she wanted to take away from the visit was a reason for feeling so crappy. And I thought, oh, goodness gracious, can we start to find a place to shift this? What's right with the body?
Mm.
Let's focus on how amazing, incredibly intelligent our bodies are, that they can beat the heart without you having to think about it, that you can breathe while you're sleeping, without having to think about it, right? That you continue to breathe. Let's focus on the positive.
Well, and what you
So,
think about, you bring about, right? So if all you're doing is focusing on the pain, that's what you're going to feel on a more regular basis.
yeah, yeah. So very much a lot of, I really feel like a counselor sometimes, because it's helping to shift. It's not just a piece of nutrition. That's a very tangible piece. In Ayurveda, I've taken some pieces of this, and I look at energetically as the digestive tract being a metaphor for life. We take in nourishment, we chew it up, we swallow it, we assimilate and absorb and digest, and we get rid of the waste. And this is really the metaphysical and the metaphor for life. Are there people in your life? What's going on? Um, a little off topic, and a client called me. She said, I have high blood pressure and I'm got reflux, got acid reflux and GERD. And when I went to call her back, her answering on her phone was not like, hi, you've reached so-and-so. There was a music playing, a song playing. And the song was playing, This Girl is on Fire.
Oh my gosh.
And I immediately went to this, there's the connection. Where's the fire? Where's the burning in her life that's creating this burning in her stomach and her digestion? And the high blood pressure. Don't get your blood in a bubble. There's always a metaphor there. So we're
Mhm.
working and saying, what's going on in all the emotional level in this metaphor for digestion? But then there was a very real process of, there's acid in the stomach, and so having her follow a specific diet with foods that are cooling. And so we kind of blended somewhere between a vata and a pitta diet for her that will help to cool these tissues. And then a couple of herbs. Triphala is an Ayurvedic herb that's appropriate for all three of the body types. And it works on the very deep levels in the tissues. It's very gentle. Amalaki, which is one of the constituents and one of the fruits and herbs, very high in vitamin C. And so slowly pulling the toxins out and repairing the digestive tract, little bit, gently and slowly, so that it's an easy transition for her. But again, that holistic, really, physical, mental, emotional, spiritual. Um, Same thing with a lot of the fibromyalgia clients and a lot of pain. What part of the body is it in? I really look at this being a message, a divine message in the body, to look at what area is sort of crying out for attention and healing, and that there's a message. And if we can embrace it, what we resist persists. When we try to push the pain away, it's a blessing. It's a signal from the body. I really think, a love song, a story from the body to get your attention.
Mm-hmm.
Here's something that needs attention. And I did it for 13 years, chronic pain. I had 3 back surgeries, spent 7 months in a wheelchair.
Wow.
And I certainly did everything that Western medicine had to offer at that time. But if surgery was the answer, why did it take 3 surgeries? It wasn't until I got into the holistic and addressed the chakra system and the energy and the meridians and all of these internal things going within that I was free from pain. So that's really where I think the value is helping people to certainly do things that you need to do. Take the pain pills as you need to do them, but recognize that they're affecting the digestion. You as a pharmacist, you know that. So the smooth muscle, yes, you're relieving the back pain, but it's also affecting your digestive muscles, and they're becoming relaxed. And so we need to address the digestion.
Mm-hmm.
And doing some energy healing. It just helps to get relief, to balance the body. There's a lot of fear when someone's living in pain. Is this going to be the rest of my life?
Mm-hmm.
And the mind starts to run away with that like a runaway train. And Western medicine just hasn't been able to help that.
So you mentioned briefly about the foods that someone can eat based on their body type. So if someone goes to your website and they take the quiz and they find out what body type they are, can you give us an example of some foods that would work for all the different body types, or each one individually?
Sure. There's such a list there, and actually, I have an ebook that people can get on the website when they're there if they take the test. And in that ebook, there are some links that people can go to that will provide a diet for Vata, and a diet for Pitta, and a diet for Kapha. It's certainly important. So for Vata types, they want to, let me back up a little bit. If a client comes to me right now in Western New York in January or February in the cold, and they have a Vata imbalance, I'm most likely going to recommend some Vata type foods and diet for them. But we've had some very changeable weather. Earlier this week, it was 60 degrees here, 55, 60 degrees, and we had rain.
Yeah.
It was very much, it was very much like a Kapha season for like 2 days. So it's important, yes, to follow a particular diet, but start to also be aware of the fact that the seasons are so differing and so changing now with global warming and the climates, that there's a little bit of room for day-to-day adaptations. And learning to be a little bit flexible in your thinking and your ideas, and to check in and see and make an assessment for yourself. I really want to see people get empowered to know for themselves, give me a fish, feed me for a day, teach me to fish, feed me for a lifetime, and let people not just go, oh, Martha told me to do this, so carve in stone this way.
Mm-hmm.
Here's your guidelines, so to speak. So Vatas do well. They have a tendency for some central nervous system type disorders and insomnia and more anxiety and things like that. So I have a tendency now to have a little bit of maybe organic chicken or organic beef, some eggs and things like that. And then I mix a lot of raw, very well cooked vegetables at this time of year. So maybe I might have some broccoli or some greens, really well sauteed greens with some turmeric, fresh ground turmeric and ginger and onion. Add a little bit of heat of pepper and things like that. so that the warming qualities are countering the properties of the cooling greens. Cooking with olive oil and ghee so that you're well lubricated and that the digestion is moving well. I would have a tendency to make, like with broccoli, I'll make a raw, like a cheddar cheese, a fake cheese sauce that's like a cashew cheese with roasted red peppers and
Ooh, that sounds good.
yeah, nutritional yeast and some onion and ginger and pepper and things like that. So I'm getting some good fats, but it's also kind of lubricating. Broccoli being in that cabbage family sometimes is hard for vatas to digest. Getting creative and mixing those properties. For pitta types, again, too much heat. When I eat raw and vegan is during I'm Vata Pitta. Eating pitta in the summertime, my smoothies change. So right now my smoothies are like chocolate cherry smoothies where I might do yeah, a chocolate almond milk or regular almond milk with some cocoa nibs and cocoa powder. I put up fruits in the summertime, so I have cherries that were local cherries here in Western New York. So I did chocolate and cherry. And I might put a little bit of spirulina. Spirulina is cooling, still wonderful for the blood, and I feel like I need some greens. But I alternate maybe a handful of spinach or some spirulina, a little bit of kale. And then in the summertime, the smoothies will switch to where we're doing bananas and pineapple and coconut and a lot more greens. And in the spring, for kapha types, kaphas don't do well with a lot of grains. They don't do well with a lot of bread. That dough, they have a tendency for mucus. They're the elements, kapha is the elements of earth and water. And so there's a tendency for heaviness, for edema, for mucus and lungs and sinus. So they need things that are pungent, that are heating. Kapha carries in the spring the qualities of cool and moist. And that's one of the things I look at, like when people are coming to lose weight. They'll go to Weight Watchers. Oh, I can have all the fruit that I want, free points. So they're looking at comfort. And so I had one gal came to me. She was eating bananas every day, every night. And she's kapha. Bananas, if you go back to even in Western medicine, when you have kids, babies with diarrhea, and they get sick, the brat diet, bananas, rice, apples, and toast. So bananas slow and cool the digestive tract. So here's someone trying to lose weight. She's eating bananas every day. She's putting out the digestive fire. She's actually slowing her metabolism. So kaphas don't do well with a lot of rice. They do better with grains that are more astringent, like quinoa and buckwheat, small amounts. White rice is cooling, brown rice is heating. So I switch out when I have rice during the seasons. Let's see, what else? Kaphas do well with a lot of greens and beans. They can eat the mung beans and the mung dal and azuki beans and pea soups and things like that, whereas Vata doesn't digest those as well. They do well with a lot of cooked greens. And again, turmeric, ginger, peppers, things that are heating. During kapha season, then they'll need to switch if they have that pitta as their secondary. And a little side note, sometimes a person could be a pitta kapha type. They're prakriti, what they were born with, but they're getting older. They're hitting 65, 70. We're all going towards that vata stage of life, the nursing home stage, unfortunately, where our tissues become drier. So even though they may have been a pitta kapha for most of their life, now they're showing like postmenopausal and women becoming dry. They may need to follow a vata pacifying regime with their diet and their herbs and things like that. So again, it's nothing carved in stone. Individual.
That's fascinating.
Yeah,
So,
thanks.
and you mentioned that detox is important in health and healing. How often should someone be detoxing, and what should they be doing to detox?
Good question. One of my favorite subjects. Thank you. A lot of people, and there's so much out there about detoxing these days, and I kind of even shun from that word. Um, Ayurveda, as far as I'm concerned, offers the Cadillac when it comes to cleansing. There's a cleanse called Panchakarma. It means 5 channels, and it's using the 5 channels of the body to move toxins out of the body. And there's such a tendency. I'm going to go down to the health food store. I'm going to go online and buy a few bottles of pills and clean the colon and flush the liver and the gallbladder. That's not where toxins are stored. If the toxins were stored, those are organs that process toxins, and they filter and they help us to remove toxins out of the body, but they don't store them. When those organs become overloaded or they're compromised in any way, the body says, we've got to get these toxins out of here, and it moves them into the fat tissues. It moves them into the cells of the body where they're less likely to cause problems until they start to accumulate. And when they do accumulate, that's where we see plaque and cholesterol. That's where we see arthritis in the joints. So Panchakarma, these 5 channels, we're using the skin, the largest organ of the body. We're using the lungs, the kidneys, the liver, and the digestive tract to, first off, soften and loosen all of these toxins in the deep tissues. So Panchakarma starts a process of oiling from the inside and the outside to soften and loosen. And then it does things like steaming the body with essential oils that help to loosen. What we do is we blend the oils for each of the body types. So when people come to Niagara Ayurveda for this Panchakarma program, they'll do 3 to 7 days. And day 1 we'll do everything that's geared towards digestion. Our oils, our teas, our foods, our smoothies, our juice. Day 2 we'll do liver. Day 3 we'll do circulation. Day 4 we'll do reproductive. So it's really very succinct and geared towards all of the systems. But we soften and we loosen. And then towards the 5th days, and 6th and 7th days, we're flushing everything out. So it's quite different. It's luxurious. It started as a system in India for the royalty to help produce longevity for them. So Ayurveda says really at the change of seasons, certainly in the spring and certainly in the fall. In the spring, we're getting the heaviness out of the body from the winter, where we're more in this hibernation phase and we're eating heavier foods. And then in the summer, we're helping to alkalize the body with all of the greens and all of the root vegetables and things like that, and getting the heat out of the body that's accumulated in the liver and accumulated in the tissues over the summer to get it ready for the winter. Interestingly enough, and you probably see this all the time as a pharmacist with a change of seasons in the fall. Oh, I get a cold or I get this every year in the fall. And people don't stop to think about, we've been all of our energy we've been expending outward. And there's a high expendency of energy in the summertime. We're very active and the days are longer. And there's all this heat in the body. And if people will cleanse in an Ayurvedic type of cleanse in the summer, at the change of seasons in the fall, will draw the heat out of the body. When they don't, the heat is still in the body. You know, if you have heat, what happens? Eventually the heat dries things out, like in the desert. So the body becomes dry. And then we move into the cold, dry season in the fall, and we add more dryness.
Okay.
And so the dryness, things can't move. and it's hot. And what happens, the body naturally starts to want to change that environment, and here comes the mucus. The kapha is stimulated to create coolness and to create moisture. And that's how we get all of our first colds. When we cleanse, we don't get that. So it's pretty
Wow.
amazing. Yeah.
It makes perfect sense.
Doesn't it?
Yeah, it does, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, I've learned a ton today, Martha, and I'm sure the audience will have a ton of questions for you. If they wanted to get in touch with you, how can they do that?
They can contact me. Thank you so much. They can go to the website, NiagaraAyurveda.com, and there's a contact page there, and they can just fill out a form, and I will be in touch with them.
When you practice in Western New York, but if someone lives, in California or some other state, are you able to help them?
Absolutely. You know what? I have clients all over the world, again, thanks to technology and the internet and Skype. And so I do have consultations via Skype and via phone. And there is actually a form. They can go to the consultation page on the website, and they can go right to setting up a consultation. But they certainly are welcome to contact me prior to doing that if they want to via the contact page.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Well, I'll be sure to link up those links that you mentioned on our website, doctorand.com, and they can get in touch with you. And make sure they grab that ebook. And I'm curious about the quiz to find out what my type is. I think I have an idea, but I just want to confirm it. And I appreciate your time, Martha, today. And maybe in the future we'll bring you on again because I've still got a ton of questions. So
fantastic! Sure. Thanks so much. It's been a wonderful time.
Yeah, same here. And you have a great day.
Thanks. You too. Bye-bye.
Okay.
Hey everyone, I hope you enjoyed the show. That was Martha from NiagaraAyurveda.com, and all the links and resources mentioned today will be on the show notes at doctorand.com, spelled A-N-H as in healthy. Now, while you're there, remember to jump on the Fit Foodie VIP email list at drand.com/VIP, and you'll get surprises and VIP-only content, exclusive insights that I only share with my subscribers, and you'll be the first to know about new recipes, episodes, programs, and events. And stay tuned because we've got tons of fun guests coming up, including Lebby Salinas, who is the Fooducator, and just to name a few. So thanks so much for stopping by, and I'm Dr. Ann. Until next time, have a fit and tasty day.
If you like this video, be sure to subscribe to this channel and share it with your friends because we need more people to hear the food as medicine message. And make sure to head over to drand.com and sign up for free updates because I share some insights in my email updates that I don't share anywhere else. And before you go, don't forget to leave a comment because I absolutely love hearing from you.